Released in 1984, The Wasp Factory has been framed as a kind of gothic horror, a novel nasty, a violent, gruesome piece of work. All of these labels may be true, but there is something else in this novel, something which was intended and also something which has turned out to be, well, prophetic in some sense. My name's Tim Smith Wordsmith, and I've been rereading Iain Banks's and Iain M. Banks's collected novels. Last time I read his last novel, The Quarry. This time I'm reading his first novel, The Wasp Factory. If you've discovered this video for the first time and you find it useful and or entertaining, then please do subscribe for more, or just give it a like, maybe a comment, whatever you can spare. Thank you. As mentioned before, The Wasp Factory was Iain Banks's first published novel. He had tried to get some science fiction novels published before then, to no success. That, of course, turned out to be successful later on. But in the meantime, he had decided to write something poppy, something easy. And that is where this came in. According to an apocryphal tale told by Will Self, the novel was being pushed from one slush pile to the next. A slush pile, by the way, is a pile of manuscripts which are sent in not by an agent. Apparently it wasn't doing too well, as slush piles don't tend to be read by anybody of importance. That is, until it made its way to the Macmillan slush pile, where the habit of the director's wife was to take away manuscripts for the weekend just for something easy to read. She was so shocked by the content that she handed it to her husband, who then had it read by a professional reader. And, well, over 1 million copies later, and we got it. It worked. Well done, Iain. So what's the story? The Wasp Factory is a first-person narrative told from the point of view of 16-year-old Frank Caldhame? I'm going with Caldhame, who lives with his eccentric father on an island off the Scottish coast. Frank rules over the island with a psychotic fist. He kills small animals, builds dams, and then destroys them using homemade explosives. He fantasises about these dams destroying whole communities. At the centre of all of his activity is a divination device, a device for telling the future. This device is the Wasp Factory. It works by feeding it insects, which then crawl to their deaths in a variety of different ways. Depending on the type of death, defines what the future may hold for Frank. Frank's principal stated enemies are women and the sea. Dragging the reader through the plot is an approaching threat. Frank's older brother, who is clinically insane, has escaped an asylum and is on his way back home. So what is the Wasp Factory? Dr. Monica Germana, in the recent BBC documentary about the Wasp Factory celebrating 40 years, which I'll link in the description, it's really good. And it's narrated by Simon Pegg, which is always a good little bonus. Anyway, Dr. Monica Germana rightly points out that The Wasp Factory is a gothic novel, showing several of the themes and plot ideas that you would find in such a thing. She says, there is a controlling father, there is a house that holds a secret, there is all sorts of monsters in the novel. Whichever way you look at it, Frank is a monster. Of course, all of this makes sense. The Wasp Factory is a gothic novel, it is a horror novel, but there's something missing here. What was the intention of Iain Banks when he wrote this novel? Again, heading back to the documentary, Iain Banks says, I thought I was writing a book, sort of a pro-feminist, anti-militarist, macho, military machine, a diatribe against that. And as I say, pro-feminist and using the violence specifically against the animals, that I'd make that point. Novelist and former friend of Iain Banks, Ken MacLeod, chips in later on by saying, it's just struck me that Frank Caldhame was the first incel. And this, for me, is the codex of how to read the novel. Let's pull it together. We have a disaffected young man who's struggling with his identity. I was never registered. I have no birth certificate, no national insurance number, nothing to say that I'm alive or have ever existed. I know this is a crime, and so does my father, and I think that sometimes he regrets the decision he made 17 years ago in his hippie anarchist days, or whatever they were. You have a belligerent father, a flat earther, a man obsessed with conspiracy. My father snorted into his glass as he drained it. Hectares and that sort of rubbish. Certainly not. It's all based on the measurement of the globe, I don't have to tell you what nonsense that is. We have a religion, an appeal to fate, a way for Frank to anchor his decisions and thoughts. I held my crotch, closed my eyes and repeated secret catechisms. I could recite them automatically, but I tried to think of what they meant as I repeated them. They contained my confessions, my dreams and hopes, my fears and hates, and they still make me shiver whenever I say them, automatic or not. Finally, we have genuine conspiracies just out of sight, just above Frank's head, things turning, machinery moving.
I think there's a secret in the study. He had hinted as much more than once, just vaguely, just enough to entice me so that I want to ask what, so that he knows that I want to ask. I don't ask, of course, because I wouldn't get any worthwhile answer. If he did tell me anything, it would be a pack of lies. Because obviously the secret wouldn't be a secret anymore if he told me the truth, and he can feel that as I do, that with my increasing maturity he needs all the holds over me he can get. I'm not a child anymore.
For me, when you understand this intention, so much of the novel comes to life. The imagery and the allegory start to make quite a lot more sense. I need to be clear, The Wasp Factory is definitely a gothic novel. That is the framework within which it can be viewed. But if you've got the time, there is something more profound, deeper in the text. What I'm saying is, of course, it can be both. There is no correct view on what the text is. We have Iain Banks' intention, we have what it turned out to be, we have how you read it and how you understand it. There is no correct answer to this. This isn't meant to be some sermon on the correct view. Iain Banks himself later lamented, "Turns out, in the end, I just had to accept, I suppose, that despite my best intentions, it was an upmarket horror novel. It was not meant to be." I really think he can rest easy on that. The Wasp Factory can be many things, but really, at its core, what its success is it's a great modern classic. Find it at an independent bookshop near you. Thank you for watching.